Caring is an action. And often when we're in the trenches of something that is uncontrollable, that we have no say in, that we don't know where it's headed, we need to just have a concrete action to do. Coping through caring was a way to sort of wrap my hands, my mind, my energy around a bigger experience.
The Kitchen Widow, a place where conversation inspires the deliciousness of giving back. We cover life and the sustenance of friendship in times of crisis or transition. So come for the food, stay for the inspiration.
I am super excited today because my guest is Audra Wilford, who is the co-founder of the MaxLove Project. The MaxLove Project is a pediatric cancer support organization which really promotes wellness and wholeness, support for families who are facing a pediatric diagnosis. And I first heard about her when her son, Max, was 4 years old and was diagnosed with brain cancer. Sadr was going through a critical time in his own treatment, and I remember marveling, just being dumbstruck at the idea that someone could be facing a diagnosis, walking into the role of caregiving, and also starting a foundation at the same time. I mean, that takes a kind of a fierceness that I was really curious about, and our friends have been saying for years, you two need to meet. So I said, come on over, let me make you some food, and I'll get to pick her brain about her organization, and as two moms, we can sit down and kind of share what we know in the hopes of helping others. So today I am making some roasted Brussels sprouts. MaxLove Project has their Fierce Foods Academy, so they really believe in creating and supporting families through optimal nutrition during treatment. So there's no dairy, there's no grain. I've taken one of their recipes and I've put a little Sicilian twist on it. What makes this dish Sicilian is the addition of capers. Now, I love a salt-cured caper. It's the way you find them in Sicily. I think they're delicious. So you're just gonna fry those up. If you wanna add a little crunch, just dust them quickly in a little bit of cornmeal, which I've done. We've got the Brussels sprouts. I'm going to fry up some capers and I'm gonna mix it in a delicious Sicilian vinaigrette, and I think she's gonna like it. We did this.
Did it?
We have. Okay, first of all, I have to confess, I love your job title.
Thank you.
You are the Chief Hope Officer for the MaxLove Project. How did you come by that?
I mean, what do we have without hope? And we named for my son's position and title that he's taken on. He's the Chief Inspiration Officer.
Love it.
And it's not that I have hope to give necessarily. It's that I feel like there's some kind of facilitation in any way that I could be a part of that process for anyone going through what we're going through. We want to help skip a couple of those stones and a couple of those really difficult moments, or the trial and error in a lot of that passage. We want to help, kind of help shepherd, help be there for people along the way. You and I think in our experiences have had more time with cancer.
Yes.
So we work with a lot of families through MaxLove Project, and with the families we serve who are brand new, thrown right into it.
I've been doing this a really long time, and if this is hard for me, imagine.
Right.
And
right.
I have an incredible network of doctors, support team. I can communicate with doctors. Right. I'm savvy with the language. So if it's a challenge for me, imagine someone really without those resources and without that support. When Max was diagnosed, can you tell me a little bit about what that first moment was like for you?
Yeah, it was such enormous shock and pain. We were underwater. We were inconsolable. We didn't know what was happening. We didn't know which end was up. I didn't know it was possible. I mean, the first thing I had to do was package up my guilt and put it to the side. And I had to walk out of that room with my 4.5-year-old son. I know he has a brain tumor at this point, and I know he's gonna have surgery the next morning. And I had to walk out of that room in the ICU. I saw my sister-in-law, and I said, I put him in timeout this morning. I put him in timeout this morning for something that relates to this brain tumor. What do I do with that?
The gamut of the emotions, the rush, that deep impact, then all of the personal stuff that churns through you, and then you kind of get to this place in the arc where you realize all of that does not serve me, and I have to push, and as you said, burn it.
What came out of that space was, walking back into the room. This was in a couple of minutes. I mean, walk back into the room, And Max said, Mommy, what are we doing in this hotel? What's going on? And I said, sweetheart, what happened was your brain is a really great place to be. And you've got these cells. You've got all of your great brain cells. And then you've got these cells that have a little problem. They lost their jobs. And so they're building this fort in your brain right now. And we've got a ninja neurosurgeon. He's going to come and he's going to take it out. And then we're going to heal. You're going to heal from that.
Prior to this, there had been signs, things.
Time and time again that we had no idea. Why wouldn't he ride a bike? How is it that he could no longer remember letters? Was it that he just wasn't working hard enough?
When you don't know what's happening and you see a change in the person that you love, and you don't know what's going on. And somehow at first you're like, with my husband, I was like, get with it. What gives, And then later, the awareness, the realization of what has been at play, and I can understand that guilt of like, oh gosh,
I was hard on you.
I was hard on you.
We noticed things in treatment, like the child in the room next to us, their parents talking to the doctor on a translator telephone. And I just thought, man.
Some families come in and, it's a single parent.
Right.
There's not two parents there to talk to a physician, that you see the gaps.
My husband and I are well educated. What we learned through this process is that what our education gave us wasn't careers or anything like that. Yeah. We were prepared for change. And when change happened, we leaned into it. We were able to kind of pick ourselves back up and say, okay, look at us. Around us everywhere, cancer is just taking and taking and taking and taking, and we have to make this give. We have to make this into something that matters for other people, that helps in some way. Coping through caring and giving back and building community. Definitely there was a personal side to my own coping, getting through it. And it was also the sense that there are these gaps, the injustice. Every single child deserves every opportunity to thrive. And what we saw is that some children weren't, simply by virtue of their access or lack thereof to essential resources. So we said, we got to change this. In retrospect, Max's first night in the hospital, when we developed that healing narrative, we thought that was for him.
Because you're a mom, right? And you're thinking, I have to explain this to my 4-year-old in a very concrete way.
Very basic.
That he can understand, and it needs to be positive because I cannot scare him.
I wanted him to be able to face this path empowered. As that healing narrative went from the ninja surgeon and it turned into, we couldn't remove all of this fort, the tumor. Then it transitioned to, we found out he needed chemotherapy. And so we're going to have good guy superpower medicine, and it's going to help the good guys fight the bad guys. So we deployed a fight-based narrative, which for him worked. It doesn't work for everyone. Some people have a problem to solve. It's a matter of accounting. For some people, it's flow. There are other things.
You knew what would work for Matt. Yes.
But what we found was that we needed that narrative just as much as he did.
I want to circle back for a moment because a part of what I hope to do with the Kitchen Widow is sort of show the community of people around someone who's in the throes of illness what they can do.
Absolutely.
You were telling me that your colleagues, your coworkers,
give me a year of time.
Bequeathed you essentially.
Yep. A year
so that you could be home with him.
From the president of the college that I work at to the maintenance workers, everyone gave me a year of time. And I said, I can't let this stop with me.
I was the recipient, my family, Sado, my daughter, of so much help. When Sado passed, I thought, how all of that came, I've got to find out how do you pay it forward?
How do you give it forward?
And it's only when you receive it in such abundance, such grace, that it just can't live and die with you. It simply just, for me energetically, it just couldn't stop.
It has a life that's bigger than you. It has a life that's bigger than all of that. That's something that sort of belongs to a greater good.
If there's someone who's a coworker out there right now watching this, thinking, oh, I hadn't thought of that. What could I do? I could approach someone.
Investigate. Can you give time?
Why not help someone?
Why not share that insight? One of the first things that we did to give back was in the ICU. All of the DVDs were stolen. So we put the word out to everybody who said, what can we do? And we said, donate some DVDs.
So that's another thing I really strongly believe in, is the power of what I call any kind of distraction you can get when you're in treatment.
Right?
And when my husband was first diagnosed, one of the best pieces of advice that we got was he said, take a funny movie with you to chemo. But the power of laughter, and now we know there's science to back up.
Right.
Even just sometimes making yourself laugh, even in an inauthentic way initially,
somehow the mind and body connect up, and suddenly you find yourself
There's
laughing.
research to show that matters.
It matters.
Even a
So-
fake laugh
even a fake
matters.
Well, I'm going to spread a little joy with some of this food, I hope.
Let's do this.
You want to do it, right? One of the things that I happen to know about the MaxLove Project is the Fierce Foods Academy. I think this is great because having been married to a chef, I know how central food is, and then been married to a chef who became ill, I know how challenging food can be. Especially during treatment, it's hard to get people to eat.
Absolutely.
And it's hard to get great nutrition in your body. So the Fierce Foods Academy really gives some guidelines for that. And you're trying to feed kids who are all can be picky
Especially
eaters.
when you're hospitalized.
Oh my God.
And hospital food is worse than school food.
So what I tried to do was to take elements of Fierce Foods and put a little Sicilian twist on it. Okay? So right now, this is chickpeas with rosemary,
Ooh, I love
right?
it.
Shallots. And then we've got some caramelized onion on top, and I put it on a bit of lettuce. Now, in Sicily, this would be on some bread, honey. You put it on some pasta, crackers, any kind of grain you can get your hands on. But I thought, oh, this could work on a bed of lettuce.
And isn't it beautiful on a bed of lettuce?
Awesome, right?
Oh, it's perfect.
Fierce, delicious,
It's perfect.
yummy, right? You like
How
it?
much do you love shallots?
Let me tell you something. The shallot is like the unsung hero.
I totally
of
agree.
Anything. I think somebody should make shallot ice cream. I mean, I love the idea of creating a healing narrative. What she said about that was really empowering, and she gave the example of doing that with her son. But I think it's an approach that we all could adopt for ourselves in whatever stage of the journey you're on, because healing can be happening, ironically, at the same time that a lot of difficulties happening. And sometimes, without getting too esoteric, I think that we can sort of heal through the difficulties and creating a narrative around that. In our house, creating a narrative for my daughter around her father's illness has been really, really empowering for her. Because anytime we can be an active hero or heroine in our own journey, it just changes everything. And maybe what Audra helped to share today was another example of what that can look like.
Thank you for joining our conversation at Kitchen Widow. For more tips on how you can help someone who is caregiving or grieving, or for recipes for the food you've seen here, visit thekitchenwidow.com. Until next time, inspire someone's life today.